Customer service, done right, can be your company's single biggest competitive advantage. Welcome to the Customer Service Revolution. Join customer service authority and best-selling author John DeJulius as he interviews leaders who are revolutionizing their industries. This is more than a podcast, though. It's a movement. The Customer Service Revolution is a radical overthrow of conventional business mentality designed to transform what customers and employees experience. If you're a revolutionary customer service leader who's ready to stop competing on price and obsessed with building a brand that people cannot live without, this podcast is for you.
Welcome, revolutionaries, the Customer Service Revolution podcast. I am John DeJulius, Chief Revolution Officer of the DeJulius Group. The DeJulius Group's purpose is to change the world by creating a customer service revolution. Today's episode is brought to you by the Customer Experience Executive Academy, CXEA. CXEA is like a master's degree in customer experience. It is a 12-month part-time intense program where students have to come in, executives have to come to Cleveland 3 days every quarter and attend virtual calls in between. The next class starts January 2024. If you want to make the experience your brand delivers your single biggest competitive advantage and make price irrelevant, then register today for CXEA. Visit cxea.org today.
If you enjoy what you're learning on the Customer Service Revolution podcast, you'll love our weekly newsletter, The E-Service. It's full of great customer experience tips and stories, includes special offers, webinars, and more each week. To sign up, head to tdg.click/e-service. That's tdg.click/e-service, ESERVICE. Enter your preferred email address, and you can look forward to great advice from John in your inbox every Wednesday.
Welcome, revolutionaries, back from break. And on today's episode, I am talking to Morné Smit. Morné developed from a salesperson to leading sales teams in 6 different industries, including spearheading a 10 times growth company over 5 years. Morné gained invaluable insights, knowledge, and experience over 2 decades that brought him to found his own business, the Emers Group, in 2017. The Emers Group focused on building systematized sales growth for small to medium-sized firms. His clients habitually achieve sustainable growth of 30% to 130% year over year. Welcome, Morné.
John, thank you so much for the invitation. I'm delighted to be here with you.
Me too. So our paths have been crossing for, maybe the past year. You've taken over for the sales guru himself, Jack Daly, who I've done a ton of work with and shared the stage and shared clients. You want to tell our audience a little bit about that transition of Jack?
Yeah, sure thing. If your followers and your listeners are familiar with Jack, he's obviously a force of nature. And I was lucky enough to meet Jack in 2018 when he came and did a talk for the Entrepreneurs Organization in London when I was still living there. And we just hit it off straight away. And I remember Jack and I going for dinner, and I knew that we were going to be in each other's lives when he broke one of his cardinal rules for me. He had a rule for a long time that he would not drink any wine the night before he does a big speaking gig or stay out late. And I took him out to a favorite restaurant of mine in London. And I think about 3 bottles of wine late. And when we were stumbling out after midnight and he had to be up early the next morning, I knew that we had something. And very shortly after that, we took on a lot of Jack's IP in Europe, started building playbooks, using the methodology that he had built over, that stage, probably a 25-year period. And then in 2021, Jack was writing his 10th book, and he was looking to evolve kind of out of speaking on sales and more into life by design, which I'm sure he's talked to you about at great length, John. And, he gave me a call and said, well, I've made a list of people that I'm prepared to hand the baton over to. Turns out it's a pretty short list. It has one name on it, and it's yours. So I'd I'd love to have that conversation with you. And, it being Jack, it wasn't quite that simple. It took about another year of me going on the road with him and really kind of learning the ropes and seeing what he did with his speaking business for us to come to an agreement. And that was probably the middle of 22. So today you can see here on my shirt, it says Morné Smit, powered by Jack Daly. My company Immerse, which is now 6.5 years old, still uses some of the foundational IP that Jack created. We've, of course, broadened that and built it out ourselves, but we still build playbooks that are very much Jack Daly inspired.
Good. This is great. And then now we share clients. We both spoke for one last week or 2 weeks ago. I can't remember, but I had to follow you, and you crushed it. So I love what you're about and your sales. Your mission statement, if I have it right, for Immerse is master sales, guarantee growth, and predict success. Do I have that right?
You do indeed. You do indeed. So the mission statement is, I guess, really a culmination of, my journey of 25 years of being a salesperson, as you said, a sales manager, a sales leader, owning a couple of companies even before I started Immerse in 2017. And I thought to myself, well, what are some of the things that as business owners, entrepreneurs, CEOs of companies, what are the things that if I had a magic wand, I would love to be able to achieve? If money wasn't an object, if there wasn't limiting beliefs, what are the things that I would love to be able to do? And I, interestingly enough, was having dinner with somebody last night, and he said, you know what? I feel like most companies are really two things. There's a cultural piece, which is all the people and, really the kind of the smell of it. And then there's sales and marketing, and you need those two things. Now, of course, you need much more than that, but those are really some of the things that every business needs. And I thought to myself, there's so many companies, ones that I've been involved in myself and ones that we work with, which have really struggled with this concept of how do I master sales, whatever that looks like for you, whether it's inbound, outbound, with the sales team, without. But mastering sales is such a critical part of scaling a business or even running a successful business. And if I could guarantee success, well, there is no such thing as guaranteed success. But if I could at least increase the success predictability, well, then think about the quality of the decisions that I could make. Think about the confidence that I would have to invest in my business. And if I could predict that success, well, that would just help me to look at that forward order book and say, I have a 3-year plan, a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan. So I started thinking about the things that I really wish I had when I first started out in business. And we kind of made that the mission statement of Immerse. And it's something that all of my team and I are very, very proud and very passionate about to this day.
Yeah, I mean, I like the two parts, right? I mean, I guess there's 3 parts, right? You have your product or service, right? Mm-hmm. And whatever that your niche is, whatever industry. But as we all know, there's very few product or services that are, even 2 times better than your nearest competition, right? We all offer the same thing at a certain level. At the top 3%, we all offer the same thing. I mean, as much as I like Apple, I know, there's other great laptops and mobile phones and all those things out there.
Yeah.
But culture, right? You got to have the right people rally around the right vision that are willing to execute it the way you want to. And then the sales, because there's a lot of great products, services that, just never saw the light of day, never made it to 2 years, 5 years, because they were a secret. So how does one, in sales, like everything, marketing, I was thinking about this the other day, marketing and sales has just blown up. And it's so vast today than it was when 25 years ago, pre-internet, right? Pre-social media. It was easy. It was the telephone book. It was some billboards. It was some, direct mail. Now there's just so much out there, confusion, noise, both from the prospect that you're trying to get in front of, but also from the company that's trying to get in front of them. How do you choose? You got SEO, you got cold calling, you got so where does one start? And where does the Immerse group, what do you bring in? Do you go after it all, or do you really focus on a certain channels?
It's a great question. I mean, there's a loaded question in as much as, I think, first of all, in my view, sales and marketing has unnecessarily had a bit of an acrimonious relationship in my experience with a lot of companies. It's almost seen as completely 2 different things, and they're they're fighting for attention. And one of the things that I'm very keen on as a business is for us to get back to integration of sales and marketing. I think that there is, not only a commonality there, but there's a shared purpose. I understand that a lot of companies want to use their marketing to build brand equity, to become well known in their verticals. And I think that's incredibly important. But I think marketing can also play a very valuable role in, research and helping us understand the competitive landscape. It can certainly help us, as you suggest, John, to get in front of the right eyeballs at the right time. And then what sales obviously can help us do is it can help us systematize the monetization of that exposure that we're getting in the marketplace. But maybe more specifically to your question, where we would start is, I think we recognize at Immerse that you can't go after everyone. Nobody has that kind of bandwidth, that kind of money, that kind of attention. And unless you are Apple or Amazon or Google, the strategy is not to be all things to all men.
But even, Apple isn't going after everyone. They're going after the top 2% of income earners. I mean, not everyone can afford their products. There's a much cheaper option. So yeah, they know their niche.
Absolutely. But for smaller companies, I think that's even more true. And I think one of the things that we really encourage our clients to do is go narrow and deep. There's that old saying, niches create riches. So often, we have clients coming to us, companies reaching out to us and saying, I want to build an outbound. I want to open this territory. I want to have this new product category. And that may well be on the development timeline for them over the next 1 to 3 to 5 to 10 years. But oftentimes what they're lacking is a war chest. They're lacking consistent cash coming into the business. They're lacking the kind of war chest to really do that next strategic thing well. So what we often do is we help them get really specific on who are really my customers. And this is easier said than done. And I think this is something that's pretty ubiquitous and everybody would say it. But when it comes into practice, it's really hard. And I was reminded of that just last week. Last week, we were recommended by a partner of ours to an incredibly large deal. It would have been an absolute game changer for us in 2024. And the team at first got really excited about it. But after about 3 or 4 days of looking at it very closely, I had to make the tough decision and let my team know that we were not going to go after it. There was a number of reasons why it wasn't an ideal fit opportunity, and the likelihood of us winning it was going to be reduced based on the way that it was set up and who else was involved in the process. And the opportunity cost, therefore, for chasing it would have been too great. It would have distracted us from actually doing great work with ideal fit customers. So often for me, where we start is by saying to our clients, let's really understand who your high value targets are. I'm not talking about everybody that you could sell to. I'm talking about the people who would find your offer irresistible, that would buy from you in any economy, that's not just interested in the price and the quality and when they can get it, because everybody cares about that. What are the real unique problems, or at least what is the unique way in which you're going to solve their problem for them? And as you intimated, John, sometimes our product or service isn't that unique. We don't have a worldwide trademark or a patent on it. So what is unique and special? Well, our culture is unique and special. Our people are unique and special. Whether we actually give a damn is unique or special. There's a lot of soft factors around how we show up that can be unique and special. And then we need to match up these high value needs of our prospects with the unique way that we can solve that. And once we can figure that out, I can start looking at, well, what are then the promises that I'm going to be making to these high value targets? And that should be distilled into my sales messaging. Because what I'm really trying to do is not just wave my arms in the air and go, hey, I'm out here, hey, I'm out here, hey, I'm out here. What I'm really looking to do is I'm trying to find those few prospects who are genuinely looking for the way that I solve that problem. And then I'm trying to interrupt that monologue that they have going in their head. If only I could find someone. If only I could find someone. And that's the monologue that we want to interrupt. And I think the place where, what I liked about what you said about sales and marketing, where sales and marketing can intersect is marketing can often give us access to that moment in time where I can interrupt that internal monologue that prospect is having, where they're saying, if I could only find someone that could. And if marketing can get us there, then a great sales function can ask great questions, can listen, and can help that prospect to buy. That, for me, is really the convergence of the two.
No, I love it. I love it. And does the Immerse Group work with all industries, B2B, B2C, or do you lean one way or the other?
I would say that we do have clients in B2B and B2C. I think the last time I checked, we were in something like 49 or 50 different industries across 7 different countries on 3 continents. So pretty broad range in terms of geography, although we are heavily centered around, we have an office in London. So the UK and Western Europe is a big market for us. And then we have an office here in Miami, Florida, where I'm based. So the US is also a big market for us, but we do have clients outside of those geographies. Because my personal background is biased towards B2B, I would say anecdotally, and I could probably look this up on our CRM, but anecdotally, I would say that 75% of our business is B2B and about 25% is B2C.
And so B2B is complex sales. It's usually not, quick and easy and come in and buy this lamp and you're done, right?
Yeah.
So the first thing I believe you said was, that you help companies figure out who their real niche is, right? Yeah. It sounded like helping them create their value proposition because, now you got someone, who called you or however you're communicating with them, but still whatever we tell them, right? Whatever my salespeople tell them is our competition is telling them the same thing. We offer great experience. Our lawyers, accountants, consultants are the brightest people, best trained. Our methodology is second to none. Look at our client list, and we all have great clients. So how do you really, in the sales, how do you really demonstrate that you are unique with all that?
Yeah, that's a great question, John. And I think, my short answer would be, I think that there is 2 primary ways that we can do that. Number one, and this is my favorite, is we need to stop selling. If you think about it, I don't know how many hundreds or thousands of people will hear this podcast, but I would be surprised if more than 1% of the people on this podcast actually enjoy being sold to, right? There's very few people that enjoy being sold to. So why then do we assume that our prospects would like to be sold to?
Right.
So the first thing that I want salespeople to do is to stop selling because it doesn't work. What I want them to do instead is help their prospects to buy. Now, how do you do that? The best way that I found to help your prospects to buy is to learn the art of asking better quality questions and listening. So many of our clients find that the big domino that knocks over the other dominoes when they're trying to get their sales really, started at scale is doing role practice with their salespeople to ask better quality questions. If you go into a discovery call, if you have the opportunity to get in front of a prospect and you're asking superior questions to the other people that are pitching, by the end of that discovery call, that client has an emotional connection to you. You have built sufficient rapport, relationship, and even trust where they're thinking to themselves, man, I really hope that John does a great job when he presents this back to me because I feel like he's a good fit for us.
So, Morné, what's a specific example of maybe a general question that if I'm sourcing out 4 different companies, right? I'm probably going to get asked the same question by all of them, which doesn't separate them. That doesn't make me think, man, this Morné, and his company. And then what is I forget how you used it, but a powerful question that starts separating, one from the others.
I don't know if it's just one powerful question, John, but I think I get what you're saying. If I give you an example of the way that, we would speak to prospects when companies call us, instead of me saying, well, how many salespeople do you have and what sales training have you done before? And, what kind of sales training do you think you need? I hardly ever talk about sales training, even though that's a very big part of what we do. When I have an owner, entrepreneur, CEO, VP sales, whatever it might be in front of me, what I really want to know is, well, paint me a picture of what great looks like. And then I normally get this kind of reaction. They're kind of confused. And I said, well, hold on a second. I can't help you get there if we don't know where there is. So I want you to imagine what great looks like for your business in 3 years from now. And then I want you to paint me a picture of what you think is going to be needed in sales in order for you to get there. Let's talk about the routes to market. Let's talk about the shape of the sales team. Let's talk about how many people you have. Let's talk about how much business came from inbound or outbound, how much networking you had to do, how many inbound, outbound salespeople you have, new logos, customer success. Now, oftentimes when I start pulling the thread on that, the client doesn't have this information. But isn't that a valuable thing to know? Isn't it valuable to know that, you know what, you're right. I was trying to make a significant investment decision in my sales team but I don't actually really know what great looks like for me. So sometimes what we need to do is I need to put myself in the shoes of that prospect and say, well, if I was spending my own money, what journey would I want somebody to take me on? Because if you don't do that, well, then people can call me up and say, Morné, I'd like to buy sales training from you, but there's 10 other companies that sell the exact same training that you do.
For less, probably. I could find it for less, right? I mean,
yeah.
Anyone can, right? And that's
exactly.
The problem with my next question. I didn't mean to cut you off, so I want to. But do you train them differently? Like if they come from SEO, right? Search and I typed in optimization, sales trainer, customer experience, whatever they're looking for. Well, what I, and I'm no sales training expert, but what I tell my team is SEO. That means that they're also calling for others, and they're looking for the best deal, which that's a different approach versus, Jack Daly told me I had to work with Morné, right? Or I saw Morné speak and he crushed it, and I want to work with him. I'm not calling anyone else. I am, seek out. So those are two different kind of, one's cold, one's warm, one's hot, one's steaming, so do you teach a different, is there a same approach or a different approach?
I think there's a commonality in the experience. And I mean, you are the guru of experience, John. So I think that there's a commonality in the experience that you want that prospect to have. If somebody's seen me speak, or I've been recommended, or it's a warm opportunity, well, then that prospect comes to me with an expectation based on what they've heard about me. If I've had, Jack Daly's endorsement, or, Andy Bailey's endorsement, of anybody that is of reputation in their industry, the expectation when that prospect comes to me is that they're going to have a very high quality experience with me, whether they buy from me or not. So I think that I'm still required, or my salespeople are still required, to ask great questions, to ask superior questions, to go on the line of questioning, which proves one thing, and that is that I care more about you as a customer than I do the transaction. Very often I'll do discovery calls myself, especially when it's a recommendation. And halfway through, I'll stop the call and say, you know what, John, if I'm honest, I get that there's things that you need, but this feels like a nice to have, not a must have. And I think we should stop here and maybe have that discussion. We should talk about whether this is a nice to have for you, because there's no judgment if it is. But working with the MERS is not like the difference between going to gym once a week and 3 times a week. Working with the MERS is like you're going to the gym 2 to 3 times a week, and now you've decided that you want to compete in a triathlon. That's what we are. And if that's not what you're ready for, then let's not go down this road. But that creates a trusted advisor status with me.
I love that.
I've demonstrated that it's not about me taking your money. If it's a cold call and you're from an SEO, we get leads off the website and things like that. I feel like it's almost more so. Now, it's not really me trying to sell immerse to you. If you've come off SEO, well, I want to know whether we're a good fit. That's all I'm interested in. I want to know, John, how compelling is your reason to buy? How much pain are you really in? What would it actually cost you to not take action? Because if I'm going to take hours of my time to think about you and strategize and put a proposal together and take you on a journey and talk to you about what I believe I can do for you, well, if, with all due respect, my time is also valuable. So I want to know that this is a good fit for both of us.
I love that. I talk about how to become a brand customers, clients can't live without. And one of the 6 tenets is exactly what you talked about. I call it educate versus sell. And educate versus sell means sometimes you're taking money off the table. You might be saying, well, listen, based on your needs, I don't think you need this consulting. I think right now, this online course or the book, start with that and let's see. And people are like blown away that, you're talking them out of, but it's not in their best interest. And worse yet, I don't want my company's name tagged if you don't have the resources. And I don't mean money as much as the CEO's not fully committed. You don't have executive sponsorship. And in 6 months or 18 months, more importantly, someone can't call you. I don't feel someone's going to be able to call you and you could say, we're doing something significantly different today than we were 18 months ago. And the DeJulius Group has left the building. They're not still here holding their hand. If I don't think that's something that, then you're right. I mean, I love that. I love that about it. So one of the biggest struggles with, I would think, new team members, new salespeople, but even ongoing is rejection. I mean, you get rejection in that industry. How do you train and kind of, I guess, make them tough to realize that, I could never do sales for that. I did it as a kid out of college, made those cold calls for all the company, and it stunk. I didn't have the right either training or mentality to get rejected. How do you go about that?
Yeah, that's a big one, especially when you're talking about new business sales. New logos, hunters are in the game of a lot of rejection. So, Jack will often say, if you want motivated salespeople, you should hire them that way. And that sounds like an oversimplification, but I think what it really points to is that motivation, ideally, if you're building a sales culture by design, motivation should start at the selection phase. So many people are hiring sales teams or adding sales talent to their teams where all they look at is the resume and the past performance. What we really want to be looking for is, does this incoming sales talent, whether it be a salesperson or a sales manager, do they have the mindset in order to be successful? And there's, assessments that we can do and pre-screening and interviews and things like that we need to look at, because motivation is, everybody can be motivated when times are good. Right. If I'm making calls and I'm getting appointments and I'm booking deals and I'm knocking over opportunities, it's easy to be motivated.
Yeah, like in retail, I don't know if you know this. I think you do. The first business I started was salons. So right now, November, December holidays, the busy bus pulled up and everyone's busy. Our newest hairdresser that no one knows about. I mean, everyone's busy. But, I always say how busy you are today is a matter of how good you were 3 months ago. So right now, December, the busy bus is pulled up and everyone has a waiting list, but how good you do today with that demand is going to be determined how busy you are in February, and then February is a totally different thing. You could shoot off a cannon in our salon on a Monday in February and maybe not hit anyone, right? Yeah. And so it's hard because when, nothing you're doing is making you busy, it's seasonality. So yeah, how do you do it? And you said the skills. What are skills you look for in a potential salesperson, or what should I be looking?
We look at three different things. So skills for me is actually the third most important. So I think this is the problem with a lot of people and how they build teams. They look at skills as, do they have the skill? Do they have the track record? Have they sold before? What we actually know, because I have data from the last 32 years that I can reference, is salespeople with good skills but weak mindset always get outsold by salespeople with superior mindset, even if they have weak skills. So actually what I'm looking for is, I'm looking for desire to be successful in sales. I'm looking for the commitment to follow through. I'm looking for coachability. I'm looking for what's called a high responsibility score. So that means I don't make excuses when I don't hit my quota. I'm not looking to blame the economy, the interest rates, whoever's sitting in the White House at the moment. I'm saying, what could I have done differently? It starts with me. I'm looking for limiting versus supporting beliefs. So I look at supportive beliefs, things like, can I easily recover from rejection? Am I able to have tough conversations about money? These are mindset, supportive beliefs that if you have that, I can teach you the skills like that. I can teach you how to open a call, how to close a call, how to consultatively sell, how to ask better questions. I can teach you the art of negotiation, how to do value selling. All of that can be taught. The mindset and the supportive beliefs is a very difficult thing to teach. And frankly, I'm not your therapist. So when I help my clients to build sales teams and we help them to hire, what we're looking for is a bias towards the mindset. We're looking for a bias, in fact, towards a cultural fit as well. I mean, one of the things that's super important if you want to keep salespeople motivated is look for a good cultural fit. Look for a salespeople who believe what you believe, who are fully bought into your vision and your mission. People have this limiting belief, this kind of, salespeople are motivated by money. So if I just throw some money at them, they're going to be perpetually motivated. Well, that's not true. We know that, yes, salespeople are motivated by money, but that's only one of three different kinds of motivation. That's extrinsic. A lot of salespeople are also intrinsically motivated, also altruistically motivated. In fact, if you look at millennials and Gen Z, we see the trends are that they are as intrinsically motivated as they are extrinsically. What does that mean?
I say the currency for millennials and Zs is purpose. I mean,
Absolutely.
they,
Purpose, belonging to a tribe, significance, word of affirmation, validation, that for them is as big a motivator as money. So we need to look for people that are culturally aligned to us. When you have a strong why, you're going to stay motivated for longer. We know that. And then I need to understand what actually motivates my team, extrinsic, intrinsic, altruistic, and I need to design reward and compensation systems that speak to all of that, not just to, hey, am I getting, $1 for every $10 that I sell?
Right. And something you brought up earlier was KPIs. I don't know if you use that term, but I mean, that's critical, especially at a B2B environment, is being able to justify and show the return on investment, whatever we want to call it. How would you teach my employees, our listeners' employees, sales team, to make sure they can tie this to something to demonstrate that it's a great investment?
You're talking about, is it a great investment in order to invest in their sales team? Is that what you mean, John?
No, I'm sorry. How do people, company sales team, justify to their prospects? Do they tie it to a KPI? How do they justify that this is going to be the best investment you could make?
I think it does depend on the industry that you're in, the product or service that you're selling. You and I are both in industries where the ROI is measurable, right? I can demonstrate to a client over a period of time that we've helped them move the needle. We've systematized their sales. We've helped them scale. Top line revenue has grown. Maybe bottom line profit has improved. In your case, you can do the same, but you can also show stickiness, customer lifetime value, share of wallet, etc. So the product or service that we're selling, it's not that difficult to demonstrate an ROI. I can baseline where somebody is. We can work out what's holding them back. We can run a program with them. And then we can do measurements on, quarterly basis, 6-monthly basis in order to show that things have increased. I think depending on what you're selling, it might be harder or easier in order to do that. If you're an HVAC company, how do you show the ROI? Is that user experience within the building? Is it what is it exactly that we're looking for? But it actually does raise an interesting point, which I think is ubiquitous when you are helping these prospects to buy. And I call it monetizing the problem. When I'm talking to a prospect, whatever product or service I'm selling, I want to make sure that I really understand what happens if the client doesn't take action. I want to almost ask that question. If I'm selling an HVAC system, an electrical system, if I'm selling, solar panels, whatever it might be, the question somewhere in that discovery should be, well, John, if you didn't do anything, what happens then? And if the answer is nothing really, well, then maybe you shouldn't even be putting a proposal in.
Yeah.
Because then it's a nice to have. Right. But if you can get a prospect speaking about, a client or customer speaking about, well, you know what, if I don't do this, then the implication is X, Y, and Z. Well, now you're aligned on the compelling reason to buy. Too many companies, too many salespeople are chasing prospects that are not worth chasing.
Right.
What I want us to see fewer prospects and sign more deals, not because I've somehow magically done that, Wolf of Wall Street thing, sell me this pen, but because we actually taught salespeople that you have to come from a place of service. If I'm trying to do business with you, my obligation as a salesperson is to ask you these questions, find out what ails you. What is going to be great? What does great look like in 1, 2, 3 years from now if everything goes according to plan? But also, what is the pain that you're going to experience if you don't take action? And we've all been at that place where, I've done a proposal or a quote, and then the client ghosts me, I think is the language that the salespeople use.
Yeah.
We don't hear from them again. No email gets answered, no call gets returned. And oftentimes, the reason that happens is because during the discovery, during the qualification, we didn't ask the tough question. And one of the tough questions has got to be, what happens if you do nothing? And if there's not pain, well, then maybe they were just fishing. Maybe they were, and sometimes that's fine. You cast a line in the water and you leave it there, and 6 months later they come back. But I think it's so important for us to understand whether there's a reason to buy or whether there's a compelling reason to buy, because that's also going to help us drive things like accurate forecasts, our sales cycle, the sales lag, and all these kinds of things.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, and I believe that discovery call should be an educational call, that they would have paid for that call by itself, that they
Absolutely.
learn something that they didn't learn from other people just asking the generic questions, right?
I love that. I love the fact that you consider that a product.
Yeah.
Consider it something that you could charge for. That's how valuable it should be.
And I like how you said it. It's an experience. It should be an experience of saying, wow, if that's what dealing with, that company is like, wow, I can't wait, So if someone's looking to attract A-player salespeople, what's the best way to attract them and keep them?
Oh, great question, and a big old topic. Let me see if I can summarize this down. So where I normally start with our clients is I say to them, the very first thing that I want you to do is I want you to bring a prospecting mindset to the discipline of recruitment. We know how to prospect, right? If you're in business for more than 5 minutes, you know a little bit about how to prospect. I want you to bring that same prospecting mindset, because most companies only look for sales talent when they have a vacancy. I have a role to fill. I've got an empty seat. I need a new hunter, a new account manager, new customer success. I need a sales manager to start managing my team. And then they start looking. And I think that that's such a limited way of approaching it. That's like me saying, I want to get married in 3 months from now. So I'm going to start dating. And then at the end of the 12 weeks, whoever's the best candidate, that's the person that I'm going to marry.
Right.
And when I say it like that, people kind of smile and go, yeah, that's absurd. I would never do that. But that's exactly what we do when we build a sales team. We have this kind of, I need a salesperson, so I'll go and look for one. And then, by the time I get a little bit of recruitment fatigue, I'll just pick the best resume that I managed to acquire over that 8 or 10 or 12-week period. So I want them to bring a prospecting mindset, because great sales talent, A players, are not like buses. They don't arrive on a schedule. I need to always be looking. How do I do that? It means that I've got to go out and I've got to build a virtual bench. What is a virtual bench? A virtual bench is I need you to know your industry so well that for every unique role that you think you're going to fill in sales over the next 3 years, I need you to have 10 names minimum per role. Who are the 10 best people in your industry for each role that you have vacant? Almost like a sports team would say, who are my best prospects for that position over the next few years? And if you can't find 10 names in your industry, then start looking outside of your industry. Maybe there's an adjacent industry, a complementary industry. Oh, then people say to me, no, Morné, you don't understand. We can't hire from outside of our industry. My industry is special. My industry is different. My industry is technical. My industry is regulated. I hear you. I respectfully disagree. The reason you have a limiting belief that you can't hire from outside your industry is because your playbook is non-existent or it sucks. If you had a great sales playbook and a great coaching culture, we could take an energetic, enthusiastic person from any industry and we could teach them and coach them how to be a top performer in your business. Then I want people to go out and I want them to think about their sales team like a sports team. If I was the manager of a sports team, I have a season to get a result, right? Now in business, we also have a season. It's called a fiscal year. I'm going to have deals that came from the previous year that invoice this year. Certainly any deals that I sign now, we're only going to invoice in 2024, but somehow I have to bookend a result, the same as a sports team. Now, if I look at my players, the people involved in sales, I love the idea of investing in your people. Heck, it's a big part of what my company does. But sometimes you're not going to get the results from your existing team. You're not going to win the league. You're not going to make the playoffs. So now we use recruitment as an upgrade tool. Now I go out and I find a new number one. Because what we know is if I put a new number one into my team, somebody that's both aligned to my core values and competent, they're going to raise the performance of all the A players and B players in my team. And sometimes that's a faster way to get a result than to ground roots, actually recruit the people in my team. And honestly, John, the unfortunate, painful reality is there are salespeople in most teams that just shouldn't be there. There are D players, low core value alignment, low competence, that we should just set free to go be happy somewhere else. Unfortunately, they're taking a disproportionate amount of a sales management resource where really what we should be doing is spending time with the A and B players. Then I want people to get really specific about what they want. Please don't call me after today and say, hey, Morné, I loved your talk. Can I get one of those A player salespeople?
Yeah.
Because my answer is going to be, what do you mean by that? Which part of the sales process do they need to be active in? Because there's no such thing as a salesperson that is, they're going to be a hunter, a door opener, they're going to qualify the leads, and they're going to quote it, and they're going to close it, and they're going to hand it over to production, and they're going to make sure that it gets delivered, and they're going to make sure that you get paid on time, and they're going to account manage it until perpetuity. That's not one salesperson, that's three.
Right.
So let's get very specific about what it is that we're looking for and go after specialists. I know that sounds like we're doubling up, but if you want to scale by growing a sales team, then we need specialists in the roles that they're in. I get calls every week of companies saying, Morné, I'm so proud of the inside sales team that I've built. That's really an amazing team. It's taken us 8 years to build this team. You know, they're amazing at keeping our clients happy. I just need you to do one thing for me. Can you help me get my inside sales team to go out and prospect? No, I can't do that because great inside salespeople don't prospect. And if I try to make them do that, then I'm judging a fish by its ability to climb a tree.
Right.
It's not the same discipline. And then finally, what I want people to do is two more things. I want them to use a sales-specific assessment. Remember, we talked about mindset and belief over skill. There's tools out there. I'm happy to share like a free trial with your listeners if they would like to try it on their next hire.
Yeah.
But there are tools out there that is going to massively increase your success predictability. And it's not expensive. Please, I beg you, use them. And then the final piece, because actually, John, even if I did everything that I just talked about, prospecting mindset, thinking about it like a sports team, recruiting that next number one, getting specific with the role, all that stuff, they did it perfectly. There's still a massive reason why salespeople fail. And that is because of what doesn't happen when they join your company. Do you know how few companies have a full 90-day onboarding program? When we build onboarding programs, they've got 8 parts to it. There's weekly touch points. It's full immersion for 90 days. I find that, you know, I like you, I'm on the road a lot. I speak to a lot of companies. In my anecdotal statistics, 1 in 100 companies that I meet can show me a formal 12, 13-week onboarding program that gets playbook proficiency, personal development plan, goal achievement plan, product and service knowledge, industry knowledge, competitive landscape, role practice, joint field sales calls. We don't have it. And that's the equivalent of, imagine if I went out and I recruited 5 new players to my basketball team. Hey, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. You know, we spent $500 million on you. We're so happy to have you. It's 3 months before season starts. You know, we have a practice facility. We've got a gym, a sports nutritionist. We've got a physiotherapist. We have everything that you can possibly need. But using it is optional. So if I don't see you again, I'll see you on day 1 of the season when it starts. Go score me some points. Now, in the sporting world, that's absurd, John. Nobody would do that. But you know how many companies we speak to that hire salespeople at great expense of time and money? And then the day they arrive, it's like, well, we have a sort of a playbook. We have a few bits on the server. Let me show you where that is. Let me connect you to one of the other salespeople for, you know, a week or 2. And then really, I need you to just get out there and go find some business. And then they're surprised when these salespeople fail at a rate in North America of 78%. The success rate in sales recruitment in North America is 22%.
Wow.
And it's because we lack so much. But the frustrating thing for me is, John, is that we know how to prospect. Would you, I mean, I know the answer to this, but I'll ask it for effect. John, would you only look for new business when you needed it?
No.
Of course not. That would be absurd.
Right.
So
that means like if I'm starving today,
right?
And we start looking for it, I'm not going to eat for 3 to 6 months.
Exactly. You just said it. You know, how busy you are in December is determined by what you did 3 months ago. Well, How about, like I said, you paint that 3-year picture. What does great look like for you in 3 years? Well, Morné, I don't need that sales manager for another 2 years. That's fine. Start building your list today. Start a courting process of the top talent in your industry today, because life happens and tomorrow that person might be available. And if you're courting them, you're in the front of the queue to get them.
Amazing stuff, Morné. I appreciate it. And I think you might have answered this, but if someone wants to make 2024 their year to dramatically transform their sales team and sales efforts, and you might have just went over them, what's the top 2 or 3 things they should do first?
Let me try and do this in a simple way. I think we kind of touched on all of these, during the last 45 minutes, John, but let me summarize it to make it easy. I would say number one, my recommendation, because I think it's not a difficult thing to do, but it's an incredibly important thing to do, is go narrow and deep. I need you to not dilute your time, very importantly, your energy or your capital in trying to be all thing to all men, to chase every opportunity that you see out there, every shiny thing. I had a client call me 2 weeks ago and she said, Morné, we really want you to help us build an outbound sales function. And I said, okay, let's talk about that. What do you do now? Oh, well, we've got a good inbound function. We've got a good marketing team. We get a lot of leads, et cetera, et cetera. And I said, well, tell me something. If you double down on marketing, would that substantively increase your leads and would the quality suffer? No, the marketing's working great. I think we would get more good leads from marketing. I said, well, why wouldn't we just, as a first step, double down on inbound? Could we double that? Could we just hire more inbound people and maybe train them better, help them to better monetize the leads and spend a little bit more on marketing? What would that do if we only focused on that for the next 7 months? Oh, no, I think we would build like a really profitable war chest. Great, let's do that. And then let's use the war chest to build you the outbound team in the second half of 24, because outbound is not something you can play with. So I would say the first thing is go narrow and deep. Let's figure out what you can double down on, what's already working. Let's build that war chest. Let's make sure that we understand who it is that we're really, really in business to serve. The second thing that I would do is I would love for the listeners to get really clear on what great looks like. If you don't have that detailed 3-year plan, that 3-year what if, and I know that a lot of people say, well, I can't forecast that far ahead. I just don't have the answers. Well, that's what a what if exercise is for. What if we took this route to market? What if we opened up this territory? What if we expanded your product range? What if we narrowed your product range? What if we increase the experience that your current customers are having and increase share of wallet, as opposed to just chasing new stuff all the time and then you're just bleeding it out in the middle of your pipeline? What if? If we had a detailed 3-year pipeline model, I can extrapolate so much from that. I can tell you what the best routes to market will be, what your recruitment plan should look like, what team it is that you're trying to build. We can pull back on what you said earlier, John. What are the KPI dashboards that I need in order to manage a team to build me this 3-year pipeline that I've done? And I think importantly, it will help us to focus on the important, not just the urgent. And then the third and final thing that I would do, because I think this is highly executable, and there are many different ways of doing it, I would build and use a sales playbook. And that simply means let's first of all capture everything that's best practice in your business. If you've run your business for more than 5 minutes, you already know there's not 10 best ways to do things. What is the best way? If you are the owner and still, the main operator, well, what is it that makes you special and different? And how can I extract that from you and teach it to others? If you have a team of 3 salespeople or 10, what is the top 2 people doing that the others are not doing? And how can we codify that and practice that? But practice is the key. Building a playbook is not the thing. If I stole the playbook from the Kansas City Chiefs that won the Super Bowl in February and I gave it to the New York City Jets, the Jets are not going to win the Super Bowl in February because it's not their playbook. The thing that makes a playbook impactful is the practice. Like Nick Saban at University of Alabama said, we practice not until we get it right, we practice until we can't get it wrong. So I would be in favor of you building a more simple playbook. Maybe the best questions your salespeople should be asking: how to overcome objections, what are the common problems I'm solving, how to close, how to ask for the order, simple stuff. But then weekly role practice so that we build confidence internally. So that when those salespeople make a call, do a Zoom call, show up to a face-to-face, there is nothing that they can't anticipate before they get there. There's no fear of, what if I get asked this question or what is this? They're like, I'm ready for this call because there's nothing that's going to happen on this call that I'm not prepared for, because we practice internally so we can get better externally. Those would be 3 things. Narrow and deep, get really clear on what great looks like, build and use a playbook.
Amazing, Morné. And so on the show notes, we'll have Morné's website, his personal website, his company, the Immerse Group. We'll have their website, Morné's email, and how you can follow him on LinkedIn. Anything else we want to add for our listeners?
Happy hunting in 2024. we have 3-4 weeks left until Christmas. I would say there's a lot of companies, I'm sure you're finding this as well, John, that are saying, yeah, Morné, that sounds great, but we'll wait until 24. Now's the time. Unless you're selling, this calculator and your lag period is a day, most of you that are on B2B have sales lags of 3 months or more. There is a lot of good things that you can do between now and Christmas, especially if it's a quiet time for you, to lay the foundations, building what great looks like, getting that model in place. There's so many good things that you could be doing to set yourself up for success in 24. If you wait until January, it'll be halfway through Q1 before you've even gotten any momentum. And to that point, if you don't mind me saying, John, on December 7th, I'm running a 4-hour masterclass on sales. So if any of the listeners want to send their salespeople to me for a virtual masterclass, I'm going to be teaching salespeople how to prospect, how to build pipeline, how to build a touch system, all the stuff that they're going to need to be successful in 2024. Then they can go to my website, mornesmit.com, under workshops, and they'll see it there. I'd be happy to have them. We normally have about 50 to 100 people on there, and we just have fun for 4 hours. So I'd love to see you there.
I love that, Morné. This will probably air after. Will they be able to go to your website and download it?
Oh, not only, yeah, we have recording clips, and then the new dates for next year. We run these workshops about every 6 weeks or so.
Okay.
The new dates for next year will be published probably within the next week to 10 days.
Okay, great. Thank you, Morné. That was Morné Smit, founder of the Immerse Group, who focuses on building systematized sales and growth for small to medium-sized firms. Thank you, revolutionaries, for joining us for another episode of the Customer Service Revolution podcast. We will see you next week.